All right, let's get right into it. We're about to unpack a pretty wild way of looking at everything, a system of physics and philosophy known as the ALQC canon. And its core idea is going to challenge how you think about, well, everything. It says the universe isn't some peaceful, predictable machine that's just winding down. Oh no, it's something way more violent, way more live, and honestly, kind of magical. We usually think of the universe like a perfect little clock, right? Just ticking away, all orderly and predictable. Well, the ALQC canon takes that idea and just throws it right out the window. Instead, it gives us a much more aggressive model, a combustion engine. And an engine doesn't just tick along quietly, it roars. It runs on explosions. It has to burn fuel to create the heat and pressure it needs to actually go anywhere. So to really wrap our heads around this thing, we've got to start right there, with that core metaphor. We need to pop the hood on this cosmic engine, because according to this system, it's the only reason anything moves at all. And this is where things get really wild. I mean, think about it. In normal physics, what's friction? It's waste, it's drag, it's the thing that slows you down. But this system says the complete opposite. Friction isn't a bug in the code, it's the most important feature. It's not something to get rid of, it's the absolute requirement for getting anywhere. Okay, so if friction is basically the secret sauce for movement, well then what's the fuel for this cosmic engine? What is it actually burning? And the answer, let me tell you, is where this whole thing gets really, really weird. They call the fuel shadow debt. And get this, it's the energy that's created from every mistake, every failure, all the doubt, confusion, and pain. All the stuff that in a normal system would be seen as an error, a problem to be fixed or deleted. But here, nope, that's the good stuff. That's the high-octane fuel in the tank. And this right here, this just nails it. This is the fundamental law of physics in this universe. Think about it. A world with no problems, no friction, no failure. It sounds kind of nice, right? Well, according to this model, that world would be frozen solid, a perfect but dead crystal. It's only because we have this stuff to burn, these shadows, that we can actually move forward at all. So if all our failures and screw-ups are the fuel, the raw, unrefined sludge of our lives, how in the world do you actually light it on fire? And I want to be clear, this isn't some self-help metaphor about learning from your mistakes. The ALQC canon lays out a very specific, almost mathematical process for turning a negative into a positive. All right, let's get into the nitty-gritty, the actual mechanics of how you burn a shadow. This is where things get a little mind-bending, where you see this mashup of high-level math and some really deep esoteric ideas. The system needs a special kind of geometry to pull off this trick. And the key to the whole thing is this really bizarre shape, the Klein bottle. Now, if you've never heard of it, just imagine a bottle where the inside and the outside are the same surface. It's kind of hard to picture, but basically, if you were a tiny ant walking along the outside, you would eventually, seamlessly, find yourself walking on the inside without ever crossing an edge. It's a total trip. So here's the play-by-play for the ignition sequence. Step 1, friction happens, creating that raw shadow debt. Step 2, that debt just builds up and up and up until it hits a critical mass. Step 3, the system shoves it into that weird Klein bottle shape we just talked about. And now for the magic trick. As that negative energy travels along that one-sided surface, it flips. The text calls it a parity flip. It literally inverts its own value. That negative debt doesn't just disappear, it becomes a positive force. It becomes propulsion. It becomes movement. So we've got our fuel and we've got our ignition. But what's the actual engine made of? What's the frame that holds all this together? To get a handle on this, we've got to look at this incredible duality that the canon talks about all the time. There's this amazing stanza from one of the core texts that lays it all out. It introduces the two key parts of everything that exists, the pilot and the ship. They're separate, they do different things, but ultimately they're two sides of the same coin. So let's really unpack that. You've got the pilot. That's your core, your soul, maybe, the unchanging part of you that holds the map and knows the destination. But here's the catch. The pilot can't move on its own. Then you have the ship. That's your body, your life, the part that gets banged up, that gets dented and scratched. It's the thing that actually experiences the friction of the world. And that's where the shadow debt, our fuel, comes from. Okay, but wait a minute. An engine that runs on failure, there's a potentially infinite supply of that, right? So what stops it from just blowing itself up. What happens if you try to burn it all at once?
Yeah, you get exactly what you'd think. Catastrophic thermal runaway. It's like pouring the entire gas can directly into the engine and dropping a match. You don't get a faster car, you get a fireball. The system says the same thing. Try to process all that raw, unfiltered pain and failure at once, and the whole thing just melts down.
So how does the engine keep from self-destructing? Well, it has a built-in safety protocol, a cosmic cooling system, if you will. And it all comes down to one single number, 9. This is the rule of 9. Think of that raw shadow debt like crude oil. You can't just put crude oil in your car, right? It has to be refined. Well, it's the same idea here. That debt has to be processed before it's usable. It has to be invoked or experienced 9 times, pass through 9 different filters or layers until it becomes saturated. It's only at that 9th level that it's heavy enough, refined enough, to actually drop into the Klein bottle and flip into real fuel. And if you try to burn it too early, all you get is contamination, just toxic static that poisons the whole system. So let's pull all of this back from the cosmic and get personal. Because the canon is very clear that this whole engine isn't just about galaxies and physics, it's about us. So what's the big takeaway from all this? The most important thing to get is this. The system is built to eat its own mistakes. All those screw-ups, all those regrets, that's not baggage you have to drag around for the rest of your life. According to this model, that history is the actual fuel you need to get to your future. You don't run from the past, you burn it. And that leaves us with one last, massive, and maybe even unsettling question to think about. If this whole model is true, if friction is fuel, then what is your pain for? It suggests that all the struggles, all the hurt, all the failures, they're not mistakes, they're not bugs in the code, they're potential energy. They're the universe handing you a full tank of gas for wherever it is you're heading next. And here's the kicker. The AOQC canon doesn't present this as some nice philosophy or a hopeful idea. It presents it as a description of a finished, working mechanism, a completed process. The journey from chaos to order is done. The circuit is closed.